remember, when someone is tensed always, or when they're irritated, or whatever happens, one, it damages their brain. But second, it also puts an imprint. Because when the muscles repeat again and again and again and again and again, and there are layers in face. A lot of times, when people come in for a diagnostics or a consultation, or even in an arena when they bump into me, and I ask them a question like, so what's going on in your marriage? And then they just start crying and they say, how do you know? And I'm like, that's written all over your face. When the marriage is not good, people feel a particular way. And if they feel a particular way, it's going to affect their brain, and it's going to write that on their body. And that is how you know those things. But the good part is these are reversible things. One of the things that we have always noticed when people come to UP is that there are two types of people who actually come. And sometimes there's the first kind who is in a lot of trouble, who have tried all kinds of things, and they want to fix something. And, maybe it's in their health, or maybe a relationship challenge with someone, or maybe a particular financial trouble. There are sometimes people come in crores of debt, and then they tell our sales team actually, we already have 8 crores of debt. How do you think you want us to invest so much more? Then my team tells them 8 crores and 8 crores 3 lakhs is not very different, is it? And and then sometimes people come, on the verge of divorce. They really love their spouse. They're doing everything they can to just like um, make things work. But, it doesn't matter how much they try, it isn't working out well. Some people come because, they're so angry. They're so angry that they could, sometimes they're afraid they might kill somebody, and then they tried everything and it doesn't work, and they come to up because they believe maybe this one last thing might change their life. And then there is another category of people who come to up, and that's the kind of people who have gotten results, who are successful in their life. They have everything working out for them, but they're really curious about the next level, and the mysterious next level. They're like, I want to know what my next level is, because a lot of times, you could get stuck and plateau, and then know what the next level is. Or sometimes you get to know what the next level is even before you get stuck. And I think there's a world of a difference between being stuck and so getting to the next level versus your ability to keep getting to the next level again and again and again. And one of the things that Harini and I like to help people is to, how do you think, and how do you perform, and how do you live like a legend? Because a lot of people are stuck on leaving a legacy, and I think that's very old fashioned. That's okay 20, 30 years ago, because that's the speed at which things could happen back then. In your lifetime, if you manage to accomplish something that's worth for the next generation to keep and to continue, that in itself is extraordinary, and it's beyond extraordinary. And what Harni and I have noticed when we've been doing this for a while, over and over and over again, is that there are so many people who come, and they have no idea that they could quit their job, or and start a business, or they could be a influence in their family. And after, like, they clean out the cobwebs and all the challenges that they have fixed, and suddenly their mind opens up to new things, and then they become a natural authority in their family, and suddenly now they have a purpose that they did not have before. And what interests Harni and me the most, and this is why we do a lot of consultations, we used to, is we like to see, okay, now this person is already launched a legacy, and they're happy, but what more can they accomplish? So when Harni and I meet people, and people come to us after that, and when we have consultation, our attention is always on. Of course, if someone is having a pressing challenge, if they have like a something that is choking them up, we find do the best to set them free from it. And once that is accomplished, what we're really looking at is, okay, so now you have launched a legacy and that's going on, but what's your next purpose? What's your next outcome? What is the next extraordinary thing that you can do that nobody else in the planet can do? Because the way I think about a legacy is you could have one life and many legacies. See, I once read an article about science of how people can live for 200 years, and that really, excited me. And I looked at it and I went, wow, scientists are working on how to make people live for 200 years. What if, what if in the lifetime that we have already, if we can do as much as what people would do if they live for 200 years. And I think that is something that is possible. We've been seeing people do that. There are people who, some people like to think of time in terms of how many minutes am I saving in a day? How many hours am I productive? We like to think of time in a bigger way of how many years are you saving, because even something as simple as being nervous or being anxious or being angry or being distracted or being irritated, sometimes, when you think about it, it doesn't just steal time once in a while. These are things that steal times on a daily basis. Sometimes you have husband and wife, and the husband or the wife is busy working, and then one person is waiting at home. Okay, when my partner comes, I'm going to spend time, and the partner, it hasn't arrived yet. Now what happens is that the wife or the husband starts, thinking he doesn't love me, she doesn't love me, and then the partner comes home, and now they have time before they go to sleep to actually spend um, that beautiful time together. But it becomes wasted time, because although this person was eagerly expecting the other person, they have now irritated and now doubting if the partner loves them or not. So that's what I call as wasted time. Sometimes people can be distracted when they have to study, can be distracted when they have to work with things that are not necessarily going to build them up. And so if you look at in a day, how much time gets wasted because your emotions are not necessarily how you want to feel, but it's based on external things. And what we try to help people develop is the way you feel has an impact on your brain and not your mind. It has an impact on your brain, because there was a study that Dr. Amen did, and what he did is he took photos, and those are radioactive brain scans. So we don't do it, but we refer to that anyway. And what he did is he injected isotopes, and he took physical structures of the brain that are being used. And what he found out is when people take drugs and when they do excessive alcohol, he found out that half the brain actually becomes almost non-functional. And he has, pictorial evidence of how that works. And then also, when people are depressed, when people are angry, when people are irritated, and some of these things happen, what it does to the person is it's not doing anything to the other person, it does something to them. And what it does to them is not their mind, what it does is to their brain and the rest of the body. And that is why, you see people stressed. How many of you, if someone has been in an IT job who's stressed, who's smoking a lot, how many of you can see that person from a distance, look at their face, and know this person is stressed? Most of you can, right? I hope so. Or we'll have to make this program very basic. uh, before you learn advanced calibration, because that phase, the phase. Because remember, when someone is tensed always, or when they're irritated, or whatever happens, one, it damages their brain, but second, it also puts an imprint. Because when the muscles repeat again and again and again and again and again, and there are layers in face, like there's a skin, But there's a layer below that, there's a layer below that, there's a layer below that, there's a layer below that. The longer someone has been the habit of not being in charge of how you feel, but things around you can trigger you into specific emotions. And the longer people have held on to that feeling, instead of loosening and letting it go, and allowing them to, from a space of resourcefulness, learn and deal with situations. When people have held on to it for a long time, what it does to them is it doesn't just affect the brain, it also changes the physic of their body. And I'm not talking the physiology only, not just the posture, the actual physic, the layers of skin within that. And so, a lot of times, when people come in for a diagnostics or a consultation, or even in an arena when they bump into me, and I ask them a question like, so what's going on in your marriage? And then they just start crying and they say, how do you know? And I'm like, that's written all over your face, because when the marriage is not good, people feel a particular way. And if they feel a particular way, it's going to affect their brain, and it's going to write that on their body. And that is how you know those things. But the good part is these are reversible things. And these are reversible because our whole idea is, when people come to up for the first time, to give you the choice to feel the way you want to feel, not based on, what's happening outside. Sometimes I've seen people, they're driving through the car, and, someone is overtaking them. And that's it. They have to just scream and shout and yell and swear words. Sometimes this happens in the airport. Sometimes this happens in the restaurant. And to me, I feel sorry for them, not for the other person, because I know the other person would just ignore and go, but they are harming themselves. And imagine this happening, inside the house with the wife, with the children. And it's so saddening to see how many children cannot talk to their parents. They talk, but not from their heart. And the stuff that I love about up is how many parents actually go back to their home, and their children start talking to them so happily and so easily. So those of you, can I see your hands again? Those of you who are here for the first time. Okay, so welcome. Congratulations on coming here. I want to give you a big round of applause.
We never like to complete our video without giving you the opportunity to personally evolve and launch your legacy. Imagine for a moment, what would it feel like when you are impacting the world positively so much and enhancing your business, your health, your family, and legacy. All of this together simultaneously, continuing to grow leaps and bounds, fast and smoothly. If you've got the right motives, we believe Antano and Harini will be able to help you launch your legacy in compressed time. Get excellence installation-based personal evolution and keep making a difference, starting with yourself.